réfugiés climatiques. Un manque de la protection de la nature qui pousse aujourd'hui de nos populations à quitter chez nous.
É perder a terra, a floresta, o grande agronegócio que está chegando aí.
Marine heat waves are causing an unknown amount of death among corals.
I want all the global leaders to do something to stop climate change, because if it's not going to be stopped, it's going to harm our future.
Queridos poetas sociales, porque ustedes son poetas sociales porque tienen la capacidad y el coraje de crear esperanza allí donde solo aparece descarte y exclusión.
Je n'arrive pas à rester tranquille. Parfois, j'ai un esprit qui voyage.
O mundo vai mudar. Porque o que estava encoberto, hoje está sendo descoberto.
Il faut lisser des liens très forts et il ne faut jamais rompre ce lien.
You are my hero, you are.
Che nessuno di noi è un'isola, abbiamo tutti bisogno gli uni degli altri.
Wondema, pour himbe mbada protéger l'environnement.
Try to be the change you want to see in the world.
We arrived as individuals with very different stories, but we all shared a dream.
He's not attempting
to share his concerns about the state of the world. It's that simple, really. It's a letter from the Pope. We're going to be bringing together 4 of the different voices that Pope Francis has.
Salut tout le monde, je m'appelle Bilal Sek. Le changement de climatique bi dafa dégager lu bëri fii nii nangu suñu kër yi yenn kër yi en plus que job yi bëriwul instant yi may testé pour mën a jaar si gaal yi pour mën a dem je l'ai fait avec mon meilleur ami mais ñun ba ñuy dugg si clandestin bi dama ñëw après gisante ak benn gaan bi tegal ma ni ma gaal yi noonu la demee confiance la amoon quoi ak amoon yaakaar ak amoon yëg-yëg ak gëmoon ni on va réussir quoi. gaal gi si wàllu boppam dafa dem yoonam kenn gisul gaal ba léegi.
Cosa succede? E il peggio è che ci stiamo abituando a questo. Oggi sì, è affondato un barcone lì e tanti dispersi. Ma guarda che questo abituarsi è una malattia grave.
Experts predict millions of people will be displaced by climate change in the next half century.
Well, the UN spokesperson for migration confirming at least 74 people have lost their lives when a ship capsized in the deadliest sea crossing in the world.
All of these environment-related problems are increasing levels of migration in regions all around the world.
This is a defining challenge for our generation.
Already been displaced by the ever-rising sea levels.
Come è stato annunciato, sarà pubblicata una lettera enciclica. Questa enciclica è rivolta a tutti.
Well, the Vatican releases Pope Francis's wildly anticipated encyclical on the environment.
Late today, the leader of the world's 1.2 billion Catholics arrived for a 5-day
Never before has an official papal teaching letter been so widely praised and criticized. Thousands of police officers on duty for Francis's first full day right here in the Big Apple. The Pope reportedly agrees that global warming is real and that humans are to blame. There are still skeptics out there that say that, the Pope is not qualified or the Pope is not the authority.
So he's building off of a scientific literature. He's not attempting to be a scientist.
It's actually a reflection on the planet. It's a moral document.
It seems to me that the Pope is preaching politics from the pulpit. And that's something I'm not too
That the Pope is not pronouncing authoritatively on climate change.
Rather than fighting mythical forces. He's terribly misinformed. He's doing a terrible disservice to the entire Catholic theology.
It's a most remarkable document.
He is way out of line.
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut you off there.
It is an essential document for our time.
Laudato Si is a letter that Pope Francis has written to you. And that usually gets people, they're going, Pope Francis didn't write me a letter. I say, oh yes, he did. He wrote you a letter. He wrote every person on the planet a letter to share his concerns about the state of the world. It's that simple, really. It's a letter from the Pope. We're going to be bringing together 4 of the different voices that Pope Francis has called specifically for in Laudato Si.
So we would like to invite, in the name of Pope Francis, a few representatives.
The voice of the poor, those at the peripheries, the voice of the indigenous peoples, the voice of the youth, and also the voice of nature, of wildlife.
Our idea is to invite all these people, bring them to the Vatican, and then having a dialogue together.
I'm gonna sit right down and write myself a letter and make believe it came from you. I'm gonna write words so sweet. They're gonna knock me off of my feet. A lot of kisses on the bottom. I'll be glad I got 'em. I'm gonna smile and say, I hope you're feeling better. I'll close with love the way you do. I'm gonna sit right down and write myself a letter. And I'm gonna make believe it came from you. Oh yeah! I'm gonna write words so sweet. They're gonna knock me off of my feet. A lot of kisses on the bottom. I'll be glad I got 'em. Oh yeah! I'm gonna sit right down and write myself a letter. And I'm gonna make believe it came from you. Oh yeah, gonna make believe it came from you. Oh yeah.
Mana mu ram dah yo. Ram lah.
Ya, mari kami.
Read. The letter आया.
कहाँ से देखो?
Which helps Pope discussively for promote.
Wow.
Félicitations, amigo mío.
Será
Justíssimo chefe da DA.
Dear Ridhima Pandey,
Dear Robin Martin and Greg Asner, on behalf of all members of the Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development,
we salute you.
Ao incenso obrigatório para todos o que vocês fazem até agora.
In his own letter, Laudato Si, Pope Francis calls for a new dialogue about how we are shaping the future of our planet.
if you are willing, we can include your response as representative of the voice of the wildlife.
En tant qu'ambassadeur des pauvres,
A sua resposta como indígena.
Of the voices of the youth, you are invited to give your response in person.
In person?
Oi.
I think we're going to Rome.
We are very much looking forward to working together for a better future.
Pope कौन है?
No entendía nada. Qué cosa extraña esto. ¿Qué tiene que ver la ecología con la evangelización? Me decía un obispo que iba de una isla a otra a visitar sus comunidades y se encontró con un árbol que nacía del mar. Y se extrañó y le comentó al que llevaba la barca. Dijo, vea qué extraño esto. No, había una isla ahí y ya no está más. El cambio climático. En cierto momento sentí que tenía que decir una palabra, desde acá. Me reuní con algunos científicos y les pedí que delinearan bien los problemas claros. Después me reuní con un grupo de teólogos y le dije, ¿qué podemos decir sobre esto? Esto es grave. Y así nació Laudato Si. El clamor de la tierra y el clamor de los pobres no dan para más.
Burning coal, oil and gas produces almost 90% of all human-produced CO2 emissions and is the main cause of climate change.
Africa is responsible for just 3% of global emissions. And yet, Africans are suffering some of the most brutal impacts fueled by the climate crisis.
Senegal is extremely vulnerable because of drought in the Sahel region.
biyetemi ko Haruna Kande, réfugié climatique. Timina ko 20 sako yero 20 sako mi hesiron liggade liggey wayna liggey ngesa ko ɓe ngawi ko ala hindiyam kala gandunoɗo e rema ko demowo gonnoɗa nden caɗele dalinoma. Mais c'est un manque de la protection de la nature qui pousse aujourd'hui de nos populations à quitter chez nous en venant dans les grandes villes comme Saint-Louis à Dakar. Nene am ceerno am ko kaw am kanko e nene am bokkidi o yayinoron dumunna o yiɗi kam addude ndar mo ummi on ko eɗo e ɗum ko duuɓi jeeggo. Nde jottimi ndar ko mimi ɗamino yiide homi majji joni ho joni mi yirara famille am. J'ai fait le dara à Saint-Louis. Je mangeais pour survivre. J'ai grandi dans ces conditions jusqu'à l'âge de 12 ans. Tawi kam ko ramina janga quoi. Ɓe cankoro tawi kam ramina janga. Issa est mon tuteur. C'est lui qui a créé l'organisation de l'ONG de Maison de la Gare. C'est une organisation qui a pour but non lucratif, qui aide les talibés à s'intégrer dans la vie. Mina fiɓi yaade ron mina fiɓi yaade université ɗum ko anni e woni e ɓernde amen. Hinde noon ndi noon ko mina ɗamini min ko hem mbokkami e ɓen. Actuellement à Saint-Louis, la mer avance de plus en plus vers les localités. Ɓattorta galleji ɗi ha yahi joni gagnima ɓangi joni place o fof. Jiɗi joni sa yahi an presque ko ndiyam ɗoɗi koɗi joni. Ndiyam ɗam ɓangino galleji maɓɓe ɗi. Ɓe ngala galleji ɗi janino ngalaɗo kodi ɓen ko état ittuno naɓi men o nokku ɗon fewnani men tantije bas ɗo ɗo ɓe mbaɗa. ɓe mbi o jo keɗe mi luɓo lawol ngo ganduɗa komi ndewatɗo galji ɗo mi jaa oro mi tawoya wonɓe Europe. Mais aussi, le changement climatique rend notre pays pauvre. Le fait que ma gis si tour Barça ak Barça lu muy tekk ban message nga bëgg jàllale en fait quoi.
moo tax jeunes yu bëri dañuy foog ne balaa ñuy dem balaa ñuy jógee si côte yi lii la ñuy wax Barça wala Barsac. Barça mooy Barcelone parce que bateau yu bëri foofu la ñuy teeree. Barsac mooy dee.
mooy dee
waaw. ci sama xalaat daal mooy. na xale yëpp toog fii Afrique parce que am na bëri lu ñu war a liggéey fii soo demee fee lan ngay am doo def dara loo am nga suturloo si. loolu daal mooy message bi mooy message bi bato bi.
fii de war naa fi indi sama élément yi quoi comme ça ñu ñëw xool affaire yi.
am na solo.
rafet na trop quoi.
waaw jërëjëf.
te si a yettima ro nan kadi mi wagginima konngol gandina paap gondorongo wondema pour yimɓe mbaɗa protéger l'environnement o ɗum ko religion ji ɗi fof kaaɗim l'islam e jati hoore mo haalim o yimɓe leɓe na mbat toppoto ladde nde yimɓe leɓe na mbat toppoto environnement o hay hunde warna yakke. Je veux rester au Sénégal et j'encourage aussi à toute ma communauté à ne pas émigrer.
Eu sou o cacique Dadá, da terra indígena Maró. O meu território, ele é composto, o tamanho dele é 42.372 hectares de terra. O coração fica batendo porque eu penso que é mais energia que é passada através de uma carta. E que a gente possa fazer esse laço de amizade e tentar junto correr em busca da demarcação da terra indígena Maró. O povo acredita em um Deus que é chamado de Tupã para nós. É aquele todo-poderoso que está no céu. É aquele que cuida de todo mundo. Então é aquele que cuida do índio, do papa, do negro, do branco e de todos. Para mim, a floresta ela tem um significado muito grande. Para mim, a floresta não deixa de ser uma casa. Uma casa bonita, uma casa grande. A partir de 2002 acabou nosso sossego. Porque aí vai chegar as empresas madeireiras, vão lotear todos os lotes dela, vão titular, vão fazer os manejos e nós vamos ficar, se nós não se organizar para defender um pedaço de terra, nós vamos ficar sem terra.
4 land and environmental defenders have been murdered every week. Last year was the bloodiest year on record, with 212 people killed for standing up for their land, for standing up to protect our environment, and for standing up to their rights.
Então, aqui nessa região, ela acontece muito isso, né? E assim, eu falo com toda sinceridade, eu ando, mas eu ando com medo. Hoje eu retornei aqui nesse lugar que eu nunca gostaria, eu sempre passo aqui, mas nunca gostei, parei para vir aqui porque isso aqui me traz umas lembranças muito ruins. Eu me deparei com um carro por 2 pessoas que já foram abrindo o carro e me colocando arma sobre a minha cabeça. Eles me amarraram no tronco de uma árvore. Aí ele veio e deu um chute desse lado aqui na minha costela. Aí depois bateu desse outro lado aqui. Aí foi a hora que eu apaguei. Se não fosse Tupã, não fosse o espírito da floresta, eu hoje não estava aqui forte. Porque parte da sociedade brasileira, ela está transformando a Amazônia no grande mercado financeiro. Ela só vê a Amazônia pelo lado capitalista. Acha que a Amazônia só pode se desenvolver se você estiver extraindo o grande minério que está nela, a grande madeira que está nela. Mas não está aí preocupado em plantar, não está preocupado em preservar. Mas o meu maior medo aqui é perder a terra, a floresta, para o grande agronegócio que está chegando aí. O plantio da soja mecanizada, o plantio do arroz mecanizado. Aí não tem mais para nós.
¿Cuántos defensores del ambiente terminaron asesinados? ¿Cuántos? O terminaron silenciados. En historia estudiamos cómo la civilización nos liberó de la esclavitud. Es una mentira más grande que esta casa. El progreso, entre comillas, que hoy estamos siguiendo, la supremacía de lo económico, nos hace cada vez más esclavos. Y ahora no solo a nosotros, sino a la casa común, a la naturaleza.
Ridhima vows to keep the fight on.
जो मेन जिम्मेदारी है वो गवर्नमेंट की है कि वो but it's like when it comes to ground reality.
The next person into the stage is the wonderful young girl. Ridhima Pandey, come on, she deserves a big round of applause. The youngest speaker that we have with us.
I never expected to receive a letter from Pope. It's like never in my life. I never even, thought of that it could be a thing. It makes me feel a little special kind of a person.
Ridhima Pandey is one among the 16 children who filed a complaint to protest against the lack of government action to tackle the climate crisis.
I'm here because I want all the global leaders to do something to stop climate change, because if it's not going to be stopped, it's going to harm our future. So if we want to stop global warming, we have to do something now. I won't let this fight die down. Trust me.
Creo que la fuerza más grande la tienen los movimientos populares y los jóvenes. O sea, de ahí tiene que venir lo nuevo. La organización, los jóvenes.
And now, release it. Every single time when I talk to the kids from any part of the world, the one thing that I found common amongst all our stories is that climate change has impacted and is still impacting our life in one way or the other. Hi.
So we just found out that the out-of-control bushfire is going to come up and reach the ridge that we live on. The winds just changed. It's really sudden.
Oh my God.
We're just hoping and praying that the wind doesn't pick up so that it doesn't completely destroy our house. We're going to go and we have to go get our dogs and chickens from the house and just start preparing.
Super smoky. There's ash falling out of the sky. All right, let's roll.
Heavy rains have triggered deadly floods and landslides. Several people have been killed so far.
In 2013, the Kedarnath flash flood happened. After seeing those things, I started having these nightmares. When it comes to climate change, my generation is the most vulnerable right now, and we are going to be the most affected in the future as well.
La verdadera revolución es constructiva siempre. Y cuando uno ya está instalado en la vida, le cuesta imaginar. Los jóvenes de ahora son los que pueden gritar. Jóvenes desinstalados.
Dear Mother Earth, I am raising my voice against the polluters, the policymakers, and the governments who are responsible for this destruction. We youth must bring a positive change to heal you, to save you, and to save your beauty as well as our future.
Thanks for tuning in to the Wave at 92 FM, Hawaii's #1 hit music station. We've got a special treat for you. Husband and wife team who are leading the way in coral protection, Dr. Greg Asner and Dr. Robin Martin. Guys, how are you doing today? Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
On a global scale, corals are in trouble. We've had 2 major marine heat waves. That's these heat waves in the ocean. We weren't ready, we didn't have a lot of data, and we mobilized. So we do a very high-tech style of environmental mapping. We take off and we're flying over our coral reef, and the computers and the instrumentation on board the plane are collecting up these images as we fly over. These instruments are like fancy cameras that are pointing out of the bottom of the plane.
This shows our progression as we fly across the reef, and each one of these passes is more than a diving team can do in a year.
But really what our mapping is that makes it so unique is our ability to see the biodiversity, see the actual organisms that are making up the ecosystem. And we've created technology on board my aircraft that allows us to probe these ecosystems and that helps us to create information about the seafloor, including the corals. That information in the instrumentation on the plane has to be interpreted in some way. And so Robin comes into the picture by going into the ocean and relating what we see in the plane with the corals on the seafloor itself.
So Greg's team right now is heading over us, coming up over the boat right now.
So this is showing our real-time display as we're flying over Robin.
My office is one of the coolest places on Earth. Coral reefs are like the rainforest of the sea. They provide habitat, they provide food, they provide shoreline protection. They're a living, growing organism that grows out of the bottom of the ocean.
As ecologists, we look at nature as species, organisms that are interacting, and that one doesn't exist well without the other. Problems like climate change disrupt these interactions between species. These marine heat waves are causing an unknown amount of death among corals. These dark bands show the live coral. The oranges are still live coral, but less of it. And the yellow is very little live coral cover, but it gives you a history of what we lost in the shallower parts of the reef. But we did learn in 2015 that we lost at least 25% of our corals statewide. By July 2019, we started seeing this heat wave arriving again.
Unlike forest fires where we know we put water on it to put it out, we have no idea what to do about these heat waves in terms of putting them out.
La teología que hay en Laudato Si está en diálogo con la ciencia. Hoy y nunca se puede hacer teología sin diálogo con la ciencia. Más aún, Dios nos dio esta capacidad de la investigación, esta capacidad intelectual de buscar las verdades. Obviamente que la narración bíblica de la creación es una forma mítica de expresar lo que ha sucedido.
Although I don't practice religion, the experiences that one has underwater or in this world, if you take the time to just be quiet and listen and look, make you always wonder who's in charge and how everything got here.
If you live below the waterline, you have no voice. And so it's up to us to bring some of that voice above the surface. It's not easy to do.
If you just look at the science, and having been an environmental activist for so many years, like, you look at the science and you can despair. But we also need the stories. We need the narratives that faith brings, the motivation in order to take action.
Every major faith has taken up the challenge of addressing the environmental crises, and they do so through their stories and their narratives. And one of the things that the faiths have always known is you've got to be dealing with the spectrum of human issues, not just with one single issue. The first big meeting of the faiths with the major environmental groups was in 1986 in Assisi, in Italy, the birthplace of St. Francis. We had all the major conservation and environmental groups there, and we had representatives of the 5 major religions.
Laudato Si and the theology that underpins Laudato Si is about calling us into a deeper communion with the natural world. In the way that Pope Francis starts this encyclical, well, he calls it Laudato Si, praise be, from the Canticle of Creation. But then the whole first chapter, practically, is dedicated to Saint Francis of Assisi. Saint Francis, as a mystic, had that intuition of the created world. And that's something, at its very deepest, I think that's where Laudato Si offers something so unique.
There has never been an invitation from a pope to the rest of the religious world and the secular world to become partners side by side in addressing a major issue. That is unique. That's the turning point.
Pope Francis really calls in Laudato Si for an urgent dialogue with those who are suffering from the effects of climate injustice, those who are not listened to.
Queridos poetas sociales, porque ustedes son poetas sociales porque tienen la capacidad y el coraje de crear esperanza allí donde solo aparece descarte y exclusión. Gracias por hacerme parte del proceso histórico que están transitando. Un diálogo que nace en las periferias, un diálogo que llega a Roma y en el que todos podemos sentirnos invitados, interpelados. Son parte fundamental de esa humanidad que lucha por la vida frente a un sistema de muerte.
Robin and I are ready. We want to go and do this because it's so important. So much is at stake.
J'ai grandi dans une société là où on ne considère pas les talibés. Donc je n'ai jamais imaginé que j'aurais un jour l'occasion de recevoir des invitations comme le pape. Non plus que des gens intellectuels de haut niveau qui n'ont pas eu de cette sens-là.
xool rek nu réew mi bindoo xool da ngay xool rek. xoolal lii rek ça date des siècles. fii train bi daf fiy jaar fi digg tali bi.
fii nii.
waaw.
après ñeneen ñi borom oto yi nu ñuy dem.
di romb gars yi dañuy taxaw.
ñii de lii
ku nekk da nga respecté sa morom la.
lii ku ko defoon Sénégal population bi yëpp ngay rey benn jour.
A nossa vinda não é uma visita, é uma aula, é um trabalho. Tem sentido, tem muita coisa que a gente vai mudar. O mundo vai mudar, porque o que estava encoberto hoje está sendo descoberto.
maanaam réew Sénégal la quoi en fait c'est un réew sénégalais. njaañ ñi rafet na de. jaajëf jaajëf dellu ziar. mais naka ngeen ñëwee yéen di ngeen di ñëw.
gaal lañ jël bii.
gaal
libi laa jaar libi laa jaar.
yow libi
lañ jaar.
Barça wala Barsaak.
Barça wala Barsaak.
So first thing to say is a huge welcome to all of you. I have been a campaigner on environmental issues, social justice. I think since I was your age, around that time. Our coming together today is partly in response to this. This little book, Laudato Si, Pope Francis wrote this for every person on the planet.
Wow.
And I know that each of you received a letter of invitation. So Pope Francis meets with people from the peripheries all the time. It's kind of like his bread and butter. But what we're trying to do here is to bring together the different peripheries into dialogue, and that's quite unique. We're going to do a rehearsal now, okay? Now, if we all stand up, so then if Pope Francis wants to come in here, who's the Pope?
Buongiorno, Santo Padre. Sono Lorna dell'Irlanda, del movimento Laudato Si.
The Green.
The Green Island.
Bom dia. Assim que eu odeio. Terra indígena Maró, Amazônia.
Amazônia,
bom dia.
Rhythma, India.
Buongiorno, Robin Martin, Hawaii.
Holy Father Greg Asler from Hawaii.
John, I'm from Senegal.
Senegal.
Yeah.
Aqui quero lhe entregar esse presente. Aqui no lado, o grafismo, a carta.
Holy Father, this is the drum I know.
And this is what I imagine. This is our Mother Earth.
Thank you.
This image of Earth taken last week, but also this, importantly, shows where the climate is changing.
Ça montre comment la jeunesse traverse de la Méditerranée pour entrer en Europe.
Et à la place des Saint-Peter, il y a une sculpture d'un bateau de migrants et je voudrais que vous le voyez.
Bien sûr.
¿Tecnología ecológica o no?
Bom dia, a Vossa Santidade. Venho aqui representando as falas de todos os indígenas do Brasil. Falo traduzindo as palavras da nossa grande Mãe Terra, que hoje pede socorro na Amazônia e todo o Brasil. Muito obrigado.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today about the global biodiversity crisis and for all of the unheard voices of wildlife.
We need your help. As scientists, we realize that science can't solve the biodiversity crisis or the climate crisis alone. Science is a toolkit, but we need much more than tools.
Dans mon pays, à la réchauffement climatique de notre planète. Et aujourd'hui, la population a déplacé de leur ville, de leur village pour venir dans les grandes villes. Ce déplacement aujourd'hui nous a causé, nous a poussé aujourd'hui à devenir des talibés, marcher dans les rues, pieds nus. Et donc, si je suis là, votre sainteté aujourd'hui, c'est pour trouver une solution. Comment faire pour lutter contre cette injustice? Comment faire pour lutter les problèmes qui gangrènent notre planète?
Today I am here in front of you to represent the voices of the youth because our future is in danger. We are not getting the life that we deserved. The older generation inherited this world in a way, like it was beautiful, it was livable, it was a world that I wanted, but they have destroyed it for their profit. Thank you.
Ustedes saben que esas imágenes bíblicas son históricas con significado mítico, es decir, para ayudarnos también a captar los valores. Se estaba construyendo la Torre de Babel. Se decía que la soberbia humana en aquel momento quería llegar hasta donde, no sé. Y los ladrillos los hacían tantos trabajadores. Si se caía un ladrillo, era castigado brutalmente el obrero que lo dejó caer. Si se caía un obrero, no pasaba nada. Suplían con otro y seguían con el trabajo. Y esta es la clave de interpretación de lo que sucede hoy. Estamos construyendo una torre de soberbia humana, con ladrillos de poder, con ladrillos de economía. Y para construir eso trabaja tanta gente como esclavos. Y si se cae un esclavo no pasa nada, pero hemos dado un paso más. Si se cae la naturaleza no pasa nada. La soberbia económica, la soberbia del poder de unos pocos, que usa todo, usa la gente, usa la naturaleza, usa todo y destruye. Estamos viendo en este verano los incendios. Estamos viendo cómo los ciclones, los terremotos, cómo la naturaleza se empieza a quejar. La naturaleza grita. Deténganse. Deténganse. Perdón, sto parlando in spagnolo, ma i traduttori possono tradurlo se va? Non me ne sono accorto. E parlavo del cuore. Il cuore è spagnolo. Continuo con lo spagnolo. Vabbè. Creo que el grito de libertad en este momento tiene que venir por el lado de las nuevas generaciones, a las cuales hay que hacerle tomar conciencia, porque ustedes van a heredar esta tierra. Tenemos son los movimientos juveniles, los movimientos populares. El pueblo tiene su sabiduría. Tú eres cacique de un movimiento popular, ¿no es cierto? Entonces, sí. Y los científicos apoyando siempre eso, ¿no? O sea, diciendo, tienen razón en esto, tienen... O sea, pero esto es un coro, acá tenemos que cantar todos juntos, ¿no? Y la unidad en este momento es la de salvar la madre tierra, ¿no? Y salvar la biodiversidad y salvarnos a nosotros mismos y salvar a nuestros hijos, ¿no? Pero no descartar a nadie, o sea, ante una política del descarte nosotros no descartamos. Cada uno en su país, en su pueblo, en su cultura, tiene que buscar la manera de poder hacerlo. Y a todos juntos, todos juntos.
Humanity has lived on this planet and watched it and observed it for thousands of years. We've learned a lot. We didn't call it ecology. We didn't call it conservation. We just felt that somehow here, there was something more wonderful and mysterious and majestical and powerful at work. So we called it sacred. And I think we need to bring that sacred back. Tapping into that deep need to feel that there are some places where the veil between heaven and earth is gossamer thin.
Sì, mi Signore, con tutte le tue creature. Specialmente messer lo frate sole. Laudato sì, mi Signore, per Sora Luna e le stelle. Laudato sì, mi Signore, per frate Vento, et aere, et nubilo, et sereno, et omne tempore. I am a little taken, moved, because the first time I see this relic. St. Francis had a special attraction to rocky places like this one. In complete solitude, he needed to renew his contact with the very source of his life. He needed the contact with the absolute, the transcendent. It's meaningful for everybody, not just for believers or Christians. So we need to have a transcendent reason to care for the creation.
Habemus Papam, Franciscum.
Francis. It's the first Francis in the history of the Catholic Church.
It is fair to say, by the reaction in the square of St. Peter's, they are stunned.
This is a stunner. This is a stunner.
Nobody dared to take the name of Francis because it's a challenge. It means that you will follow in the steps of St. Francis.
Nell'elezione io ho pensato a Francesco di Assisi e così è venuto il nome nel mio cuore. Francesco di Assisi, l'uomo della povertà, l'uomo della pace, l'uomo che ama e custodisce il creato. In questo momento in che noi abbiamo col creato una relazione non tanto buona, no?
Laudato sia il Signore, per
frate sole. I can say, even in my small way, that this is what I have experienced in my life as a Franciscan. The joy of possessing nothing, but enjoying everything. The creation doesn't belong to us. We have received it. We are not owners of nature.
Y Francisco es un hombre de la escucha. Escuchó la voz de Dios, escuchó la voz del pobre, escuchó la voz del enfermo, escuchó la voz de la naturaleza. Y deseo que la semilla de Francisco crezca en tantos corazones.
But you really have to go to Assisi to get a sense of the real Francis. This message of St. Francis of love for nature, a concern for social justice for the poor. And then it says here, Laudato si mi Signore, per la sora luna e le stelle, for the sister moon and the stars. And this one here is St. Francis. Looking at the stars, I imagine.
Yeah, his eyes are
lying
open.
down, his eyes are wide open.
Mm-hmm.
So to go up the stairs.
Com relação ao Papa, fiquei muito feliz pela exposição de cada um.
It went by too fast for me, and I just keep replaying it like, oh, I wish I could have done that, or said that, or asked this, right?
Yep. Got to.
Oh, there's somebody blocking them at the other side. Yeah.
I was feeling my legs shaking and I was not able to figure out what happened like the whole day.
That's the essence of it. It's perfectly imperfect, even with the Pope. It's human, so.
O nosso encontro com o Papa está dando uma repercussão muito grande. Lá no nosso estado, no nosso município, saiu no jornal local, um canal de televisão que o mundo todo lá. Agora, os caras, para me matarem, eles vão pensar 2 vezes, os caras que me ameaçam. Porque eles sabem que eu não estou mais lutando só. A minha luta não está mais só.
Francis hanging out. We're seeing the stars. Look.
Salaamaaleykum, salut tout le monde. maa leen nuyu yéen ñëpp ku si nekk sa tur sa sant quoi. Man la Bilal Seck. Je suis là pour partager avec vous mon histoire. Instant yi may testé pour mën a jaar si gaal yi pour mën a dem. Je l'ai fait avec mon meilleur ami. Confiance la amoon quoi. Ak amoon yaakaar ak amoon yëg-yëg. Ak gëmoon ni on va réussir quoi. Mais dafa nekk gaal boo xam ne projet la te on m'a dit que projet du xasee ba commencé di dugal ndox day commencé dugal ndox di dem rek day diig mais gaal gi bant bi gisatuñ ko je t'assure loo xamante ni tey métti na trop plus de 24 heures noonu si woon si kaw ndox bi di jaayante. si biir guddi si man ak sama benn boy bi si biir guddi si nañ réeroo léegi boy bi mu ngi may yuuxu si biir guddi si man maa ngi koy yuuxu. man maa ngi dóor ndox bi sax pour mu mën a gis mais non mënul gis parce que lëndëm la ba mu des maa 2 boy si biir guddi si booy demoon nañ ba mu bili instant yii moment bii nu nekkee nii moment bi amul leneen loo xamante ni nii moo fi sës lu dul dee wallaahi billaahi ma leen non même pas. il m'a beaucoup manqué quoi. si yàlla ko yàlla yërëm te xaale ko àjjana. parce que si nañ dem juste ñu nelawoon nañ si kaw ndox bi nelaw ba dugg si biir ndox bi billaahi tourné rek juste gis benn gaal buy nekk foofu noonu di napp da nga def foofu yàlla rek moo doon wan dara quoi mais si la yàlla ñëw ak yërmandeem gaal bi ñëw sauvé nu su guddi si te yàlla ko yàlla xaare àjjana kii di Bas ba di Jaw Braya ak Demba da nga defoon pour juste pour mën a changer suñu dund mën a nekk si leneen quoi mu nekk mais sant yàlla tey ba mën a toog di koy waxtaane ak yéen.
J'ai été pas reconnu avant de mon voyage. Déjà, on est une famille. Je ne considère pas comme des amis, je vous considère déjà comme une famille. Donc il faut lisser des liens très forts et il ne faut jamais rompre ce lien. Mais ce voyage m'a permis actuellement de s'engager davantage dans l'avenir, d'être prêt à n'importe quel combat.
I would just say one thing to Aruna. He said he was not famous, and it really feels because he has suffered a lot. In a way, it's just like my story is that I used to get nightmares. But I guess I only had nightmares, but you have lived worse than that. And one thing I can promise is that you are my hero. You are so famous for me.
Et actuellement, les daras sont remplis. Il y a une inondation. Les enfants n'ont même pas place assez pour dormir. Et ils restent pendant la nuit. Ils restent debout durant toute la nuit. Pourquoi? Parce que les daras sont remplis d'eau. Nous avons reçu des informations. Avant-hier, il y avait un gars qui avait rempli plus de 200 ans pour traverser la mer, venir en Europe.
Aruna, we stood before that boat and you unveiled a picture, and it's a reality. It makes me so angry because we don't know how to help. Once you know, you cannot look away. You cannot look away.
Se tiver que fazer alguma coisa, é enquanto nós estamos falando. Se nós tiver que ajudar ele aqui, enquanto ele está vivo, enquanto ele está falando, enquanto ele tem força para lutar. E a gente acaba tomando a dor do outro, porque o sofrimento de um é de todos nós.
Though half of life is gone for good and we haven't acted as we should. You feel it in your heart of wood that this is far from over. Shorelines gone and maps destroyed, livelihoods dissolved and void, entire languages unheard, and still it's far from over. Be sure you teach your kids to swim and navigate by stars above. The fate of landlocked life is grim when you ignore our will to love. When all that's left is sea and sun, a lonely voice says all's not done. It's your child who will be the one to sing it's far from over. The whole world's far from over.
I feel like we arrived as individuals with very different stories, very different backgrounds, strangers in a way. But we all shared a dream.
It's like an orchestra. An orchestra works precisely because it's diverse. Each with their own contribution.
When I think about Pope Francis's contribution, it's huge, it's enormous, and it needs to go far outside of the Catholic Church, far outside of Christianity, far outside among many belief systems. And the amplification can't be what I know or what you know or what you know or what you know, it's what we know.
If we can form alliances that stretch across different movements, we could still make a change. There is hope.
Je n'arrive pas à rester tranquille. Parfois, j'ai un esprit qui voyage. Ma vision sur le futur du Sénégal, si on continue sur cette même lancée, pour comment faire reboiser la nature, pour organiser des campagnes de reboisement.
A Amazônia, ela não depende só de mim, ela depende de cada um de vocês que estão aí, ela depende de ti. E para que ela seja verde, todos nós precisa cuidar dela.
It really has changed my perspective. I think it's going to define the rest of my career, my life.
Everybody had their story, but everybody's story is the story of today.
And the latest report by the United Nations Climate Science Agency has declared that it is now or never.
Marches have been taking place in more than 200 cities around the globe for what's billed as a global day of action for climate justice.
We know what to do, we know how to do it, and now it's up to us to take action.
Taking action for climate crisis, try to be the change you want to see in the world.
We are now at the crossroads of humanity having the opportunity to go one way or the other.
Abbiamo tutti bisogno gli uni degli altri, che nessuno di noi è un'isola, che possiamo costruire il futuro solo insieme, senza escludere nessuno.
spent, I spent it in good company. And all the harm that ever I done, it's always been to none but me. And all I've done for want of wit, a memory now I can't recall. So fill to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be with you. Oh. Of all the comrades that ever I had, they're sorry for my going away. And all the sweethearts that ever I had, they wish me one more day to stay. But since it falls unto my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and I'll softly call. Good night and joy be with you all. Good night